Ready?
Go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Take two. It is finally November 3rd, 2020. The time is 3:26 p.m. Welcome. It is glad to see you all again. We have number of valid ballots to review 16,145. Number of presumed invalid ballots 200. For a total number of ballots 16,345. Signature does not match. The board will be reviewing 53. No longer registered 1. Already voted 1 pair with miscellaneous variation 4. Unknown voter 4. Already voted early voting site 9. Already voted vote by mail 21. Deceased 5. Not registered 1. Miscellaneous variation wrong ballot style. Return wrong ballot 21. No vote by mail request on file 6. Miscellaneous variation wrong ballot style 1. Moved out of county 74 for a total amount of 200. I would like to take a moment to introduce myself. I'm Judge Victoria Ferrer. I'm the chair of the Canvassing Board. To my left, we have
Christina White, Supervisor of Elections.
to my right,
Judge Milena Abreu. Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see everybody again.
and we have our trusted counsel.
Warren Rosenthal, Assistant County Attorney, Miami-Dade County.
Thank you.
Taylor, can you just do me a favor? Since we do have a bit of a full house today, we want to make sure that there is representation from each of the parties, campaigns, and that there's, somebody from each one in the room, because I did notice that there are some people in the overflow room. So would you mind checking to see if there's anybody in that room that doesn't already have representation in, so that we can start a rotation?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
We are going to go ahead and begin with which one?
Miscellaneous
Miscellaneous.
variation.
Vanessa? Provider?
Yes.
Okay.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Okay, we have a ballot in front of us, being rejected for miscellaneous variation, wrong ballot style. The voter is Yu Okava, overseas, and we placed him under the Supervisor of Elections, 2700, and the voter was mailed a first style.
I don't know what that means. Can you?
Okay, the voters overseas. So when they complete an FPCA, which is the application for a person who resides overseas, depending on their intent to return back to the States, we place them under the Supervisor of Elections office, the 2700 building, which is here.
Okay.
The voter contacted the office because they were inquiring on the ballot style that they received. Well, the staff changed them back into their residential address and subsequently sent a second ballot, a different style.
He has not voted yet.
Which is similar to the other one.
Which is similar to the change of address to 2 styles. The voter did return the first style.
Okay.
But the voter has reached out to us, notating that why was the ballot rejected and that the intent was not to change the address again. It was just inquiring.
So there's a letter here, and there is, I believe, somebody here who wanted to speak on behalf of it, but I will just say first that I move to
Let me
accept
review the letter. The letter is addressed to the board. The letter reads, "Dear members of the board, I would like to respectfully ask that my ballot is counted. The address change and the resulting ballot 2 generated was due to a miscommunication with the FCPA elections office. I continue to reside overseas due to my current employment, and ballot 1, which I used to vote, was the correct and valid ballot. There was no intention to change my address with the elections office. I was simply inquiring about the missing representative in Congress, District 24 on my ballot, and was told that option is not included in since I reside overseas. I believe this inquiry resulted in the unintended updates in address and second ballot. I became a US citizen in 2019 after residing in the US for 22 years. I am voting for the first time ever and would hope that a simple clerical error wouldn't invalidate my vote. I respectfully ask for my vote to be counted. Thank you, and signed. I move to accept this ballot. It provides a copy of the passport.
So Judge?
Yes.
I think given the facts before you, that's acceptable. They should maintain in the temporary residence abroad with intent to return. You can credit this information as a miscommunication to the elections department. I believe the appropriate motion would be to ask the supervisor to correct the registration back to the prior registration as temporary address, and then to accept the ballot as valid under that.
And they provided tier 1.
They provided additionally tier 1 information to show that it's this voter.
Correct.
Fair enough.
Okay, I agree. Accept.
Passes unanimous. We're back on signatures?
Yes, we did it right.
Okay.
While we wait for signatures, I hope you're all comfortable. We've got a long night ahead of us. Gonna start. Good afternoon, Ms. Howard.
Sure.
Is there any without a signature?
Not yet. We won't be looking at those until the cure period expires.
We're gonna commence with the first category, signature does not match, for a total of 53 ballots.
We usually ask for it.
You have it? Starting with the A's. Entering the D's. Entering the C's.
Yes, on this one from apart. Very full. Yes, yes, on this.
This is a no.
Entering the
Yes,
D.
on the Kramer.
I see it.
Yes, on this one. Yes, on this one.
No E's.
Yes, on the S.
Entering the F.
Yes. Yes, on the floor.
Entering the G's.
Sorry. Yep. Yes, on the Yes, on the looks of the Let's see the G in here.
If we can put this one back in.
Yes, a little.
So we mark this one, right? This left
Yeah.
or the outside one?
Front side. I would mark both.
Signature to voters on the front. So-
Entering the H. There is no I.
There's no X here.
Well, this time there isn't, it's not probably kind of.
But does this signature look like it? Yeah.
Entering K.
On that one? Yes. This is a J. But see how it ends up like with a U and it's affected in the
Entering the L.
Yeah.
I think that was an X. So weird X. Didn't even know that.
This is a little
Yeah.
square, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Here's the D.
entering the N.
Yes, that's here.
I don't know.
Yes, on this one. Oh. Well, it ends similar.
So we have to put it down.
And yes. Yes.
Yeah, for all of you. Entering the N.
So Madonna.
No O.
Signed for Angela DK.
No
Yeah,
P.
but they don't have a request on file, so we'll leave it as it is.
Right.
Different. Right. This is a no.
Yeah.
This goes down. Use this now, because it might be a baby version of it.
Q. Entering the R's.
Did you see something?
I tried.
Did you see something?
I did the R's.
Yeah. No, it's on file.
Willie's going on.
So he has no request on file.
Right.
So we're gonna get a signature to them.
Entering the S.
I would have maybe done it, but
This one,
different, no signature, no ballot request. Yeah, same thing now. They don't have one on file.
I can't do this. This is a no. Wait, does she write Francie?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I could do it. All right, buddy. Where are you? Maria? Maria Antonia? Maria, but she misspelled her name.
You look, I mean, look at this.
Miss Maria on hold. So she signs it and then. Because we could have also just assumed it was one, right? I mean, two. Or one, right? I mean, I'm on the fence. I mean, that's kind of. Okay. Okay, ready? Yeah. Oh, Lord. Ah. That one's hard. Why?
Entering fees.
I could do the M and the N, the A, but that's not really compare. 3:30. Get her on then. Yes, yeah, I could do it. I could do it. Yes.
No, you?
They're going a little slower than. Okay, I see the A in here. I see the A. I see that blocky A. Hey, yes, you do. You should. With what? With Trujillo? Yeah.
Entering the W.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. No, it's on tomorrow. No, it's on.
There is no XYZ.
All right, that concludes our signature does not match.
Next category, no longer registered, one ballot.
It has been unregistered. Spanish. On Espanol. Yeah. September 28th, 2020. I, and the name, with my number of registration of voting, and then the number, my address, and then the address. I am letting you know that I will no longer live in the address. Then it states the address again.
Well, this is an out-of-state motion, and you've got confirmation. Sorry, yes. Okay.
Oh, and it gives you the new address of Oklahoma. Okay. And it's signed. Signature is the same. Signature is the same.
Okay.
Signature matches the signature on file.
And there's confirmation from the elections department that the voter moved to Oklahoma on September 28th. The ballot was received. The ballot was postmarked October 7th and received October 8th.
When did they move?
Moved to September 28th, September 28th. It's from the voter, October 1st.
All right.
The voter is no longer registered.
Then I move to reject this.
Second.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry. it really
I will
didn't-
let you know exactly what happened. The voter sent a letter signed by the voter in Spanish that states that the voter is letting us know that she no longer resides in Miami Beach, Florida, that her new address is in Wharf Acres, Oklahoma. The research from the department stated that voter requested removal and moved to Oklahoma on September 28, 2020. And the date, the ballot is postmarked October 7, 2020. The letter from the voter is September 28, 2020.
The information from the voter has both her registration number that matches the records that are on file for the elections department. The signature on the request letting them know that she's no longer going to be residing in Miami and moving to Oklahoma matches the signature that's on file and matches the signature on the ballot.
Isn't there a statute that allows people who move to a different state to be able to vote for president if at the time of the moving they are unable to vote in the new state for president?
None of that is presented here. None of that is presented here. All they've said is that they're moving and they're no longer registered. There's not a request for that, Jason.
You have to make an explicit request under the statute?
Jason, there's no evidence of what you're asking for. What evidence do you have that she's unable to vote in that new state or hasn't registered in that new state at the same time?
What state is she moving to?
Oklahoma.
Suppose we could check to see when the registration deadline is in Oklahoma?
So listen to whatever evidence you have, Jason.
Okay, I guess just put that aside for a moment.
Can we request to see that?
The date of the letter is September 28th.
And does the voter state when they move?
The voter has submitted a request to this department stating on September 28, 2020, that she would like for us to know that she no longer resides in Miami Beach. She puts in her registration number, her voting number, her Miami Beach address, and that her new address is now Oklahoma, Florida. The elections department obtains this, notes it. What is this date? Voter has requested a removal from Miami-Dade County to Oklahoma. We have to allow the voters to make such requests to the elections department because they are entitled to move. And that way, they can vote in the new state and allow them to move and allow them to vote in the new state. It is the right of the voter to do so. And I, for one, will not take away their right to be able to vote in their new state and in their new city.
Next category, already voted. For a total of 4 ballots. Okay. This is the category that we ask as miscellaneous variation. We put to one side to be able to marry whatever comes back.
Of the 4 ballots that are before you, 2 of them are paired because they're from previous batches, meaning the batch of 90 and the batch of 31. They're paired.
Just so you know, my colleague, Mr. Valdez, who is working remotely on this issue, has informed me that the voter registration deadline in Oklahoma is postmarked by October 9th, which is more than 2 weeks or approximately 2 weeks after the September 28th, a little less than 2 weeks after the September 28th notice to you that they've moved.
October 9th,
October 9th.
Thank you very much.
which would allow the voter to register in her new state. Of the 4 ballots that I'm presenting to you, 2 of them are new to the board. The other 2 are coming back to you because they're being paired. So you will see that the ones being paired, one of each already has a stamp on it from previous canvassing. Okay, let's start off with those 2 first. Tell which one is which. Because of the ending number on the serial here.
Well, that's the stamp, right? So one that we, yeah, that's the first one. Yes.
We rejected this because it was the wrong ballot style.
They made a change of address, they're returning the wrong ballot style,
And now this
and
one,
now they're returning
this is the correct.
second ballot style, yes.
However, if they've already voted, if they've already voted the ballot, that they cannot receive a second ballot.
Same circumstance that we were having every year.
So they're gonna say, let's see, let the voter know.
This is the first one that was received. Which would match, because that was the question, right? Like, let's say
Yeah.
somebody in the original home got their hands on the original ballot. That's not here.
Right.
They match.
And the statute that state form is, that they cannot vote.
Yeah, 10169. I'm sorry, the question is that to vote again after you've returned the vote by mail ballot is 10169,
Even if it's the wrong one.
even if it's the wrong.
And there's no case law or any additional statute that would allow us to accept the second ballot.
Not that I'm aware of, no, not that's been presented by, I believe based on prior rulings by the.
All right. Okay, I move to reject it. Pursuant to 101.6.
I'm sorry, it is almost impossible to hear anything that's being said. There's noise coming from the hallway and with the wall. I'm so sorry.
Do you want to close, are we allowed to close the
Yeah.
door? You want to go ahead and close the door? Maybe that'll sound better? Okay.
Look at the wall too.
All right, and I apologize if I sound like I'm screaming. It's not my intent. I'm only gonna try to project my voice a little louder, so please accept my apologies. Ballot comes in, first ballot comes in on October 1st, 2020. Correct? Should I say
These are mailed.
The first ballot is the one that ends in 2958, which should be the one that's stamped, should be this one.
Okay. First ballot comes in, wrong style, so it's rejected. Second ballot comes in. Same signature. According to 101.69, once the voter has casted their ballot and the elections department has received it, we do not have authority to accept the second ballot. I asked Counselor if there was any case law or any statute that would allow us to accept the second ballot. Is there anything that would allow us to do so? There is not. Therefore, we have to reject it. The first one was originally rejected. The second one is going to be rejected today.
Madam Supervisor, when you refer to the wrong style, do you mean that it's a result of the person having new communications?
Yes, address change.
Okay, thank you.
And Your Honor, I believe it's fair that for those ballots that the parties have expressed prior objections, that we consider those objections as stated on these ballots as well and ruled on consistent with the prior ruling of this board, just for the preservation and non-waiver of any issue.
And for the record,
Thank you.
I don't like it, but I don't have to like it. I only have to do what the law says I have to do. Whether I like it or I don't like it, it's irrelevant.
So just note that all those.
This is the ballot. Moving on to the other four ballots. This is the ballot that came in the first one. This is now the ballot. that is
Same
coming in now.
signature, okay?
Same situation.
Same situation with this one, and move to reject it.
The objection. I note the objection from council.
Okay, on all of these.
Make sure that they're stamped. Some of them were previously stamped. That's the fair.
Same signature. And move to reject it. 3 pairs. 1, 2, is the third.
No, those are just the notes that Vanessa would write.
Oh,
4 in total, 3 of them. No one was-
this one. Tell me about this one.
Same situation. That's the last one of these category.
The 10 and the 14.
But where's the? Oh, let's see, that's you don't,
Where's the original?
Oh, so the first vote was already counted. There was no problems with it.
This is the one.
So we're just getting a second
Remember how
ballot.
you on the first canvassing board, you were given the ballot and you put it to one side. This particular ballot is the same situation, so. On this one,
Same signature.
4718 is the original ballot.
Okay.
In other words, this is the first ballot.
Well, let me see the number. 4718. They
So
were
this is
sent and 12, which is the second sequence. They're returning the original.
This is the first one for wrong ballot style. And then if the
This one.
second one comes in, that one will be already heard.
Remember, we were
Yeah.
stamping and we're putting them to one side.
Yeah.
So the second one is
Okay. I move to reject it.
On this next category is unknown voter. Staff has reviewed these ballots and there are no markings to continue to be able to identify the voter's identity.
Nothing in the front, nothing in the back. I move to reject it.
It's just about the next.
Nothing on the front, nothing on the back. Move to reject.
There is no match. This individual here. This information here. This individual here. This is what is referenced in this email.
So we use that to try to find something in the system.
And
Or not.
In this ballot that we're looking at, there's information provided. However, the staff has been unable to match it with any registered voter.
Not by email, name, or address.
Therefore, I move to reject it.
Second.
in this particular one, it was correspondence between Vanessa and Anna, and based on this information on the return, the email address and phone number, they were not able to identify voters.
Nor on the names, correct?
Correct.
All right, I move to reject it.
Second.
Next category is already voted. These are all early voting sites, meaning the first ballot, the voter presented to the early voting site voted, and now they are submitting their vote by mail. Attached is the certificate from early voting.
All right, I move to reject it as already voted, and the vote was accepted. The original.
Yes,
It was already voted.
this is the actual early vote.
Okay, I move to reject it.
I'll just send them over, but it's on the back side. for you. Next category is already voted, vote by mail. For a total of 21, all 21 voters have been given credit for the first ballot that they submitted. This is the second ballot.
Well, you can only vote once in Florida. Therefore, these must be rejected.
Because you can ask for up to 2 replacement ballots.
The certificate, I'm sorry, the actual copy of the first ballot is attached.
With the-
I'm confused, so this copy is a copy of this,
This is the first ballot that arrived.
but it's the same information. 4927, 4927. I'm just double
This
checking.
one states already voted on 10/12/20, and it was accepted, and then this ballot came in on the 29th. This one already voted October 22nd, 2020, accepted. This second ballot came in on the 31st of October.
They voted on October 19th, the second ballot comes in on November 2nd.
This one already voted by mail October 28th, accepted ballot. Second ballot comes in October 30th. This one already voted November 2nd, 2020, accepted. This ballot came in on the 1st.
This one voted on October 27th, same signature. The ballot comes in on November 1st.
Vote by mail October 22nd. This one came in November 2nd. The first one was already accepted. That's to reject.
This is overseas, the voter voted by email on October 21st. The physical ballot was received on November 3rd.
This one voted by fax on October 31st. This one is November 3rd.
This voter voted on October 22nd. And the overseas mail-in ballot came in on November 3rd.
This one voted by fax and was accepted on October 23rd. And this one came in Yeah, November 3rd.
This voter voted on October 29th by mail. Another overseas ballot was received on November 3rd.
Had already voted. Previous ballot accepted. October 28th.
This voter voted by email on October 22nd, received credit, the signatures matched, and the second ballot was received on November 3rd.
October 31st, first ballot. Sure. This is called fax, not email.
Oh, did I say
We
email?
emailed
I'm
it.
sorry.
Yeah.
Fax, yes. Thank you, Christine.
This overseas, already voted. By mail, October 31st. October 31st also. This entrance. 31. And October. And this one was fast. 31.
Can you double check this one? Because this one, I don't have a return of the first ballot. I only have this return from September, so this might be an actual.
This one already voted on the 1st and then now votes again on the 5th.
And the return of that is September 21st, Christina. I'm going to check it because it seems like that's the first one, but we don't have the second one.
Now this. Maybe we should have an S.
Please.
But we passed 3 of them that we have questions on.
8571. Moving on.
Moving on.
Next category is deceased for a total of 5. Ballot was mailed 10/1, deceased 10/8, returned 10/30,
Postmark.
no postmark.
Well, the date of receipt is October 29th.
There's a death certificate number that's attached with the date of death of October 8th. And the ballot was returned on October 30th.
Received on the 29th.
The signature matches.
We have to reject it.
The second voter. Ballot mailed 10/1, deceased 10/14, returned 10/29, and was dropped off at an early voting site.
Okay. There's a death certificate. Number. Second.
This one came in on the 28th.
The date of death was October 17th. It is the same. There's no.
October 28th was received. We have to reject it.
With the death certificate number.
Ballot. Ballot was mailed 10/1, Voter deceased 10/7, ballot returned 10/31. USPS postmark 10/29.
Smart. Yeah.
Where's that? There's a death certificate number.
Next ballot, mailed 10/1. Voter deceased 10/24. Ballot returned 11/1. And postmark 10/30.
10:30.
I'm sorry.
Can we please just take a lock off so that? Oh, come on in.
All right, there is a death certificate number as well.
That's very good.
Second.
Next category is not registered. This voter applied by email for the first time, but has not provided an original signature.
So not registered to vote.
Well, they haven't provided.
What is this? Signature on their application? Lauren, can we use the signature on the application to compare it to, oh, there's no signature. Strike the question. Answered my.
Will they get a cure thing?
So I understand when you say not registered,
There's no signature on the envelope.
yeah, fair enough, but that may just be because it's an overseas voter and there's a signature
email?
inside. And they put it inside to maintain the privacy of the voter. The question is this category is not registered. So the first thing we have to do before we look at signatures is figure out if this person is eligible to vote to begin with.
So it was a fax. So on the cover sheet, it has the person's name. That person's not registered.
Okay, so regardless of signature, it doesn't matter.
So they tried to, it was incomplete. An incomplete application. So they never completed the registration process. That's why.
So, yeah.
So we have a signature for them.
So,
They didn't complete all
So
the
you never get
necessary
to
fields.
Step 2.
yeah, so in order to be registered, you have to complete all the relevant information on the registration application. And if you have not completed it, you are not registered to vote in Florida yet. And so this individual apparently did not complete all the voter registration, even though they sent in an application, it was an incomplete application. So they're not eligible to vote in this election. If they complete the voter registration application, they can vote in the next election.
Which we do notify you of that.
Yeah, little trouble hearing the initial issue with this.
Yeah, my question to the supervisor of elections was not registered in what way? So they gave me a little bit of information with regards to the entirety of the registration and what is required. So I had asked, did they register? Do we have anything to compare it with? And apparently they didn't complete the registration.
It was an incomplete registration, of which we do notify you of that incomplete status and give you an opportunity to correct it. Evidently, this person did not, and therefore they're not a registered voter in Florida.
Did they go with a received ballot?
Yeah.
The next category is miscellaneous variation, wrong ballot style, wrong ballot being returned. These are all UFAVA voters that were sent an email with their ballot style, but they return a different ballot style because they may share information amongst themselves. and they return the wrong ballots.
So these are not address,
These are
totally
not-
separate, that we've sent you an email ballot, but you got your hands on somebody else's email ballot and you are returning it.
That is correct. These are not an issue of address change. Or rather, the voter just returning the wrong ballot.
This one is the wrong ballot style returned to the elections department.
Overseas.
Okay, I'm going to return.
If you look on here, you'll see that this is the ballot style that should be returned. And you will see that on each one of them, it tells you what they actually did. So this particular, I'm only pointing to the things in front of me.
So this one, the ballot style was N027 and they returned N125.
Right.
Different offices, and what they're entitled.
There you go.
Same thing on this one.
This one, ballot style N017, returned N015. Actually, there's nothing. One day pass, probably. N016, return N014. N017, return N099. There you go.
Ballot style 016, returns 017. Be rejected.
011, return 017. N014, returned N062.
017 is returning N083.
N010, return N014.
Ballot N017 and they're returning N010.
N017, return N014. N129, return N017. N024 was returned, and the right one is N125.
Right ballot style is N017, they returned N016. Ballot style is N044, they returned N014.
N115, returned N017. Excellent. All right, so noted so that Liz can have one.
Yeah.
ballot.
That was voted.
Ballot style N015, they returned N014.
I know we have a partial envelope on this one, but we don't have the front side to the envelope, only the back, but because we require to stamp the front, if we could just stamp right here.
Returned N111, correct one is N069.
The next category,
Already done, right? That's how you would verify. It was the actual person who sent it, and then you saw a link.
I'm sorry, repeat it a little louder.
I assume the signature matches done for these?
The signature match. I assume. Signature match.
What's the next category?
no BBM representado.
Same. Same.
Judge, can we get a stamp on this one? We've already stamped this because it's like.
Same.
There you go. Like near perfection.
Same. Same signature, yes, over here. Okay.
So there's another match.
Yes.
This one we did first. So the very first one.
Right.
So the other side. These wrong ballot style, these have the same signature. These either don't have a signature, these don't have signatures. Return wrong ballot style. We have to look at the signature when it's the wrong ballot style return.
The signature is only to determine whether or not the certificate matches. There's also the question of whether or not the ballot is legal. The ballot wouldn't be legal if the voter is voting the incorrect ballot style of the incorrect precinct, as previously ruled by the canvassing board under 101045. So whether or not it's unsigned, whether or not it is a incorrect signature would not be relevant to the precinct decision, except to the extent that there is a question as to whether or not it is that voter who returned that ballot. As I understand, and I'm not sure about all of those, I don't know which ones you're holding in your hand, but some of them, from what I understood, was Uacaba. Is this Uacaba?
Yes, it
Liz?
is.
So with Uacaba, that concern is less relevant because they've identified themselves individually when they returned it. You can wait to determine, you can reject them now, and if you receive another ballot from that voter, for Uacaba voters, they can vote as long as it's postmarked by election day up to 10 days later. You would reject these now and wait and make a determination when the next ballot comes in as to the lockout issue to determine whether or not this voter actually voted this ballot. If you believe that there's any question in your mind that that's not the signature of the voter who voted. Yeah, so those would still be rejected ballots, but then the question would be about the next ballot that comes in, if any.
Yeah, so we'll hold them just like all the others, and
But-
then if the second one comes in, it'll come
But
back.
because, the only thing that I would say is because they're here today, and because there's no way to cure those ballots, you should reject those ballots today, because we're trying to canvass all the ballots we've received today.
We did.
So the only question would be on the next ballot that comes in, if any. And
Which
then
would only be in the
go
next.
pull this
few
one.
hours.
So we can hold them aside, but they should be rejected.
Seven of them.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
Sampson, okay.
Okay.
Sorry, does that answer your question? Thank you.
All right, so before Liz, you move on, let's close this out. So Vanessa, so with this particular one, the reason why there's only one row here is because we emailed them once. They
Okay.
printed it, they returned it by mail, we accepted it. Then they printed a second one and returned it. And so since they already had credit once, of course, we need to reject this.
Okay.
Yeah. Then on this one, again, it's already voted, so we emailed them and mailed them, right? So this one was the mail is the one that we accepted already, so this one is the second version of it. So we've already accepted one by mail, this is the second one.
Which they got received credit for already.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just sure.
On here, right? On this side.
Yeah, because there's no certificate.
Moving on to the next category is no vote by mail request on file. So on these 6 voters, they have submitted a ballot, but they do not have a vote request on file.
That's a rejection.
The next category is the very first one we revisited that, question.
I wasn't trying to interrupt this.
No, go ahead.
On behalf of the Biden-Harris campaign, I'd like to clarify something that we learned yesterday, just to make sure that our understanding is correct. Our understanding is that if a voter moves from one precinct to another precinct within Miami-Dade County, that move results in a new ballot style code. And in some situations, the ballot style for the new precinct may be substantively identical to the ballot style for the old precinct, meaning all the same races and all of the same ballot measures. In that situation, we understand that the system.
We're gonna bring an expert in
Okay.
with regards to that question, Vanessa. Since she's the one that handles that specific move. And that way she doesn't have to say it twice.
You can do other things.
We're gonna go ahead and bring Vanessa in, who deals with all of that. And then she can explain it to us, and then you can ask her your question, and we can move things along.
Thank you.
I wanna make sure that you get the answer that is concise and that is the answer from the elections department.
Thank you.
Our last category, I was stating, the next category, which is the sole miscellaneous variation from ballot style, is the one that Vanessa introduced at the beginning of the canvassing. So we've already done that one. We're gonna move on to the last category, which is moved out of county, for a total of 74 ballots.
And again, Your Honor,
Yes,
this was the subject of substantial discussion yesterday. I think it's appropriate to consider all those objections that were preserved yesterday as preserved to these 74 ballots, unless the parties have an objection that's new and specific to this ballot, which you can hear from them, I think is appropriate. So all your objections made and ruled on yesterday are preserved and not waived unless you hear something unique to the ballot that you're hearing that you believe raises an issue that you want to raise today. These are moved out of county ballots, similar to yesterday, where the voter has informed the supervisor of elections office that they have moved out of the county prior to casting a ballot in this county. So they've moved and then cast a ballot to which they were no longer eligible to cast. And they'll read, I'm assuming you're going to read the dates on this.
Yeah, we'll do like yesterday in case there's anything additional that you want to add that wasn't already argued. That way you could hear the details as we're going through them. Okay.
We do have an additional argument. It's the nature of the argument may depend on the answer that we received on the prior question that I was just asking.
Okay,
So it may make sense to hold that argument to the end.
the prior question you asked, as I understood it, had to do with moving within the county. These are ballots that they've moved out of the county.
I understand, and I think that the argument will be made clear depending on the answer.
okay, let's take a 10-minute break. It is now, what time is it? 4:30. We'll be back at 4:40.
Before you break. I think my colleague, the argument that she's referring to has some general application or may not specifically apply.
That's fine. We're gonna take our 10-minute break. No ifs. We're gonna take a
No further
10-minute.
argument. I think she just wanted to give you some case law material.
I understand, but since we are being viewed and since this is sunshine law and I want everybody that's not with us to be able to know what is being handed to them, to us,
We're off the.
we're gonna be off. So I don't want to receive anything and state anything, because anything that I'm receiving, I'm going to go ahead and state it so that others that are not here can be aware of what I'm receiving. So let's take a 10-minute break before I start saying, what am I receiving, or before I review anything, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.